everybody. Welcome to today's session. Thank you all for joining us. I know we've got a couple of people from around the world who had registered, so thank you for joining, regardless of which time zone that you're in. My name is Caitlin, and I'm the head of customer success at Intuito. As the title suggests, over the next hour, we're going to be talking about something that causes a little bit of pain for some organizations, which is mastering professional certification and compliance. Now, this doesn't cause pain necessarily because it's complicated, but in practice, it can often end up spread across multiple spreadsheets, email inboxes, and sometimes in the head of whoever's been at the organization the longest. So today we'll be going through how Intuito as a learning management system can help you bring your whole certification and compliance program together. We'll be looking at a little bit of how we've set up our certification and compliance in Intuito, what that means for you, and then we'll also go through a bit of a demo at the end of exactly how you actually can do it in the platform. So let's get into it. I'm going to start by painting a bit of a picture that might feel familiar to you. It's the end of your membership year or your certification year, and your team is trying to figure out who has met their requirements and who hasn't. Some of your members or learners may have completed your online courses, which is great because you can usually track that quite easily. But others may have been to conferences, they may have done workshops with external providers, or they may have even completed some self-directed tasks. You'll be receiving emails with certificates. Someone might be cross-referencing a spreadsheet or looking at lists that were updated a few months ago. You might have your phone ringing because your learners might want to know how many points they have and how many more they need to achieve their requirements. And you might not know. You'll have to tell them that you'll check and get back to them. At the same time, your board or your senior leaders might be wanting a compliance report in a few days' time. This is the problem that we're going to be solving today. So if any of that sounds familiar, then you're in the right place. What we've done is broken this big problem down into three smaller problems that come up again and again in conversations that I have with people delivering these certification programs. And then for each problem, I'm going to give you a bit of a solution of how Intuito can help you with each one. The first problem that we've got is visibility. As we mentioned, your members are learning in all different ways, and keeping track of it in one place can feel impossible. So we're going to show you how to bring it all together. The second problem we're going to talk through today is that of trusting your data. Even when the data exists, it can often live across multiple systems, and nobody's quite sure if each system has been kept up to date. So we're going to show you how you can fix that. And the final problem that we're going to talk through today is that of proving compliance. When renewal season comes around, you need to be able to show who's compliant and who isn't. So we're going to show exactly how our new qualifications and cycles features make that an effortless process rather than a panic at the end of the year. At the end of the session today, hopefully you'll have a clear picture of what a modern low admin certification program looks like in practice. And that's whether you're building one from scratch or if you've got one that you're looking to improve. So let's start with problem one. We can't track all the ways our members learn. As we mentioned, your members might not just be learning through your learning management system. They'll be going to your conferences, industry events, they might do external workshops, and even self-directed things that also qualify in your certification program. Most associations, as we mentioned, can track what happens on the online learning quite easily through the learning management system. It's everything else that is complicated. So how does Intuito solve this? We have three ways that certification credits can be created in our platform. So we've got obviously the on-platform online learning. We then have the ability for admin to create credits in the system. And our third piece is our member self-reporting tools that allow members to actually upload their own CPD records. Looking at our very first option, which is the online learning piece. This is a piece that most associations have covered because you set it up when you create your courses. In Intudo, you can assign points directly to your courses individually or to your overall collections. So on both sides, you can simply tick a box like we've got on screen, enter the number of points you want to award on completion of that course or collection, and then you publish your settings through. From that point on, anytime a learner completes that course or that collection, the points are automatically added to their CPD record on platform. If we've got your system connected to an AMS or a CRM, those points can flow through to that record as well. So everything's really automatic. There's no manual step. There's no end of month reconciliation. It just happens when that requirement is completed. Having the points at the end of the collections can be really useful as well because it allows you to have multi-step CPD points. If there's a 3-part course and the CPD is only valid if they complete all 3 parts, that's where our collections come in, requiring each of the 3 modules to be done before that completion is actually logged, which is great for, where partial completion doesn't count towards that CPD record. So that's the first piece, the online learning piece. The next is our admin upload credits. So this is where you can really add a bit of workflow for your admin team. They can upload credits directly to members' profiles using a upload box similar to what we've got on screen. You can simply find the learners on the users page and add the CPD to their profiles. You can add activity name, the number of points, the date it was completed, and you can also attach evidence like a certificate that was handed out in person, or maybe as simple as an attendance record from the day. This can be used for conference attendance, face-to-face workshops, or any external learning that your association's delivering to your members. If you've got a partnership with another organization that's delivering training and they pass this material back to you, that could also be something that you can upload against your learners' records. These admin uploaded records are also applied immediately to the learner's CPD records. You don't have to approve them again because your team has already verified it, which is why they're uploaded by an admin. The third way that credits can flow into Intudo is the member self-reporting. This is potentially the most flexible piece of the whole program, which means that learners can actually go to their own account and upload CPD. So it might be they've done a piece of reading that counts towards your CPD record. They can go in and say, oh, I've completed the reading of XYZ. I completed it on this date. Based on my knowledge, it is 1 CPD point, and then they can actually upload any evidence they might have of that. A first aid certificate is the example we've used on screen, which means that they might have a certificate at the end. If we've got the admin approvals turned on, admin will receive a notification to check and then either approve or reject the CPD. Or if you're running a high trust model, you can simply allow learners to upload the CPD directly to their profile, which would then count to their overall CPD requirement. If we do have that approvals process turned on, like I mentioned, the admin can jump in and actually approve or reject that CPD. So this is a little bit of what it looks like in practice. The member will log their activity and upload any evidence in that pop-up box we saw on the previous slide. The record will then appear on their profile, but it will actually sit as pending instead of showing against any requirements that they have. Whenever that evidence is uploaded, anybody that you've popped in as an admin to receive these notifications will get an email letting them know that there's actually a CPD record to be reviewed. You can set up to five email addresses to receive this, so you could have a whole team of people working in whatever days that they are checking to make sure that these are approved in time. Once your admin reviews the submission, they can either approve or reject it. And if they are rejecting it, there is a place to write a bit of a reason why it was being rejected so that your learners understand what might not have quite been right with that record. And then if it is approved, the points are added to the members' total. It moves from pending to approved, and then it will count towards their overall requirements in the system. What this gives you, this approvals process, is a really important verifiable audit trail. So especially if you're in a highly regulated industry, this gives you the records showing what was submitted, when it was submitted, and who approved it. And this can always be exported as well if you are needing to show it to an auditor or maybe just present it as part of your overall board presentations for your processes. So with all three of these pathways for how CPD can flow into your system, you can ensure you're tracking everything in one place, whether the learning happened inside your platform or out in the world. So that's how Intudo as a system can help you with where and how your learners are actually achieving their CPD. Moving into problem 2, which is all about trusting the data that you have. So even when associations are tracking certification and completions in a few different ways that we've seen, the data can often be unreliable because it lives in multiple systems or just isn't updated regularly enough. This creates a bit of a slow burn crisis where you can't confidently report to your board or to your members in real time without a caveat that, oh, this is valid up until 3 weeks ago or whenever everything was last confirmed. And it also causes a bit of a crisis when renewal time comes because you are manually popping everything together instead of just reporting on the data you have. So let's have a look at two things that can fix this. The first is our CPD report, which I did touch on in the approvals process, but I really wanted to talk a little bit more about what you actually see in this reporting data. We've got a couple of reports in the system that we'll also talk about later in this presentation, but the CPD report is the main one that shows you a complete record of every point issued on your site. For every point, you'll see who the learner is and their email address, the name of the CPD activity, so course or collection name, or potentially the activity that's been uploaded externally. You'll see the type of credit, whether it came from a course or collection in your platform or whether it was manually uploaded. You'll see the number of points, a link to any of the evidence that's been attached, the date it was issued, and who it was issued by, if it was by an admin or by the learner themselves. And on top of all of this, you can search through to see CPD for specific learners or specific activities. You can filter by the date and the credit type. And of course, you can export everything out to an Excel spreadsheet at any time if you needed to do any further reporting on it. This gives you full visibility of your CPD process and makes sure that you can trust the data being stored because you can see absolutely everything related to it. Alongside the comprehensive reporting is actually your overall data ecosystem, so outside of your LMS. Intudo as a platform doesn't live in isolation. Your member records often live in an AMS, whether it's one of the ones listed on screen, or potentially you're using a CRM instead, which we have a few listed on screen there as well. You might also have a few other platforms in play, whether it's a shopping cart, whether it's a community platform, or a multitude of other systems like events platforms, etc. One of the most consistent things that I hear when we're talking about the process of delivering and tracking CPD is that manual reconciliation is one of the biggest issues that people have. If we're running a system like Intudo, you've got the benefit of our amazing integration abilities, which cause completions and certifications to actually sync automatically with whatever platforms that you're using. If we've got a CRM, you might have a shopping cart happening that flows through to Intudo, and then we send that detail to your CRM to show that someone's completed the course they've purchased. Same thing with your association management systems. If there's a course that people have enrolled into via your AMS, they'll then come into Intudo to complete it, and that completion data will flow back through and show against their member record. This means that there's no need to manually cross-reference completions against your various systems. Everything simply goes where it's needed to go, which means that your credentialing program can be sustainable whether you've got 5 members completing it or 5,000. If everything is recorded in your LMS and that LMS sends it externally, your data will be accurate, auditable, and automatic because it flows into the systems you already use. So that solves our trust problem. The third problem that we mentioned at the start is proving compliance at renewal time. This is the one that often hits our association organizations the hardest because it has a deadline attached to it. You need to know who's compliant and who isn't at the end of your renewal season. You need to be able to contact the members who might be at risk of not meeting their requirements. And ideally, you'd like most of your members to already know where they stand well before they get to that deadline point. And this is where our new qualifications and cycles features in Intudo come into play. Before I go too far into what qualifications and cycles are, I just want to highlight one thing, and that is what these things are actually called. Everything I'm about to show you can be renamed to match your organization's terminology. So you might refer to CPD as CE, continuing education, or potentially you just call it PD, professional development, rather than having the C at the front. There's a variety of different acronyms that are used around the world, so you can edit that for your learners to be able to see exactly what they expect to see in the system. The name of the cycle as well can be changed. So you might just call it continuing education, or potentially you name it professional development, or you might have a completely different term that you use for the renewal process. Maybe you just use renewals. So then you can edit that all, and your learners and your staff will be able to see exactly what they expect in the system. So now that we know we can change the names of these things, we'll jump into what these things actually are, starting with our qualifications. So a qualification in Intudo is the credential or the goal. For example, it might be your annual membership renewal. Maybe that has 10 points that people need, and they need to do that each year. So the qualification is that renewal as a piece of certification by itself. You can create multiple qualifications that can run alongside each other to cater to different membership types, or maybe you've got different program streams that each have their own point requirements. So you can set them all up separately in the system for your learners. Then we have our cycles. And so a cycle is a time-bound instance of the qualification. So you've set up your annual membership renewal as your qualification, then your cycle might be the 2026 year, which means that you'll have a 1st of January 2026 to 31st of December 2026 cycle of your annual membership renewal. What this means is that as learners are earning points, only those that within that cycle date will actually apply to that cycle. So anything that they've achieved last year won't count towards this year's. And then once we start our new cycle for 2027, the 2026 achievements won't count towards that either. The final piece of the setup is actually linking your courses and collections to these qualifications. So you can do this in the same place you assign the points that we spoke about earlier, which is in your course or collection settings. You simply select which qualifications the completion should count towards, and they can each count towards up to 5 different qualifications, which is really handy if you do have those multiple qualifications or multiple streams running at the same time. Once you've determined what qualifications a course can count towards and you've got all of your cycles set up, everything simply runs itself. A member completes a course or collection, the points are awarded, they're attributed to the right qualification, and they count towards the active cycle of that qualification. From the member's perspective, their qualifications and cycles look a little bit like this. On the CPD Cycles tab, or whatever you've called it in your system, you'll be able to see the active cycle, the name and the time period, which qualification it's associated with, how many points they've earned so far, how many more they need, and a visual progress indicator showing how far through the cycle they actually are. Members can also download a cycle transcript which lists all of their activities that relate to that cycle, which is really useful if they need to share their record with external regulatory bodies, or potentially they just want to check in on which ones are actually counted towards it. On the separate CPD tab, they can also see a list of every single CPD that they've actually got in their system. So this will be regardless of which cycle it is, regardless of which date it was issued. They'll always be able to know exactly where they stand, and then, of course, be able to know what else they need to do. This will eliminate, hopefully, a huge volume of inbound inquiries to your team because they can see exactly what they have and what they need to continue to do. And from the admin side, you can also see all of this information as well. The CPD reports we've mentioned earlier, the cycle report gives you an overview of your members' progress through their own cycles, similar to what we see on screen below. And you can see all of the details that you need, the member details, the qualification it relates to, the cycle that they're in, the number of points they've currently achieved, and as well as those start and end dates. If you're wanting to see your CPD in more granular detail, we can jump into the CPD report, which we spoke about earlier, that gives you that full picture. Every point that's issued to every member across every activity, including those that aren't actually attributed to a qualification. You can do all your filtering by date, you can search by learner names or activities, and of course you can click through and see the individual learners as well. Plus, everything, as we've mentioned, can be exported if you need to share it with your board or potentially use it to create targeted email lists for people that might still have a little way to go. So, with Intuito's qualifications and cycles, you can see who's on track, who's behind, who hasn't started, all of it visible, filterable, and exportable in a few seconds, meaning that renewal becomes a process, not a panic. So, jumping back to the very start when we spoke about those 3 problems, we've now gone through the 3 solutions. So, you can't track all of the ways your members learn. Well, Intuito brings all of them together: online learning, admin added records, and member self-reporting with that approvals workflow. If you can't trust the data that you have, well, we've got verified credits with that complete audit trail in the CPD reporting, as well as those fully live AMS and CRM integrations for your data to be updated anywhere that it needs to be. And if you're struggling to prove your compliance at renewal time, our qualifications and cycles can make that super easy because learners can see exactly where they're at, what they've got left to do, and everything is exportable, meaning it's just a process that you go through each year rather than something to cause panic. And now that we've kind of gone over what that could solve for you, what I'm going to do is actually jump out of this slideshow and jump into a bit of a live demo of the platform. So we're just going to get out of this and jump straight into our demo site. So this is what an Intudo system looks like. For those of you that might not have used Intudo before, we're looking at our content page here. What I'm going to do first is talk you through the setup of our CPD settings, our qualifications and cycles. So we're going to jump straight into our site settings here, and then we're going to go down to our CPD section on the left-hand side. In our CPD settings, this is where we can change our CPD labels and our CPD cycle names, just like I'd mentioned in the earlier problems. Here, you've got a max of up to 5 characters for your CPD label. Usually that is just an acronym. And then, of course, we can change our cycle name to professional development, continuing education, whatever that might look like. Next, we've got a few options for what our learners can see and do in the platform. So you might only want them to be able to view their own CPD records, which is great if you don't want them to be able to upload anything themselves. If you want them to be able to upload and delete their own records as well, we can tick that box too. This is what gives us the option to add those manual approval processes in. If we do that, we then need to enter some email addresses to receive those automated notifications for when there is something to review. We also can have those notification emails turned on even if we're not manually approving each CPD record, just as a notification for you to be aware that people are uploading their own bits and pieces. Another notification that we do have in this area is a notification for when learners complete a cycle. So if they hit their 10 CPD requirement for the year, you can receive an email notifying you of that as well. That can be quite nice if you are maybe creating custom certificates in person, or you're wanting to celebrate their achievements right away rather than waiting until the end of that renewal period. So all of this can be set up based on your organization's specific needs. And once you're happy with the labels, with what your learners can see and do, and with your notification settings, you can simply click Save Changes to apply these to your Intudo site. From there, we would next move into our qualifications area. Now, I've set up a couple here already for the purpose of this demo. And so in this example, we've got an association that has 3 different membership streams: an associate, a full, and a professional membership. I've gone in and created a qualification, and then we can also edit our existing ones here. So we can see our name, and we can choose a color as well. If you want to distinguish your organization membership streams by color, maybe we'll pop this one as red, and then I can save that, and we can now distinguish it in the system. Once we've got our qualifications set up, we will then be able to set up our qualification cycles. And again, I've gone in and set these up ahead of time to show you for the example. So I've created a 2026 stream for each of these qualifications, which you can see runs from the 1st of January to the 31st of December. Each one has a different number of points required, and that means that obviously the associate membership will be able to have a little bit of an easier time completing their CPD requirements and then achieving their qualification for that year. Again, creating a cycle is easy to do from the button in the top right, and we can also edit our active cycles if we were wanting to change the date, change the name, or potentially increase or decrease the number of points required. But once we're happy with all of that, we can start assigning our qualifications to our courses and collections. To do that, we can jump back to our content page, and we might want to edit this webinars course that we've got up the top here. Jumping into the editor, we then go straight to our settings page because we don't need to change any of the content. We are purely going to make sure that our CPD points area is set up the way we want it to be. So I'm issuing CPD on the completion of this course, I want to be issuing 2 points each time this course is completed, and I want those 2 points to be linked to our full membership qualification. What this means is that whoever completes this course will only have those 2 points in their full membership qualification cycle. Other people could complete it, but it won't count towards anything unless they've got that full membership qualification. Once I'm happy with the settings I've got here, I can simply publish my course, which will take me straight back to my content page. Because we might have a few streams running concurrently, like I've got my 3 streams in my settings, we might also have collections that actually award points to multiple qualifications rather than just one. So this one here, I've got it linking to both the professional and the full membership qualification. That means that someone can earn points regardless of which qualification they're actually working towards. And it can also mean that if someone outside of those qualifications completes, they'll still be able to earn points, but they won't be able to pop them towards their associate membership, for example. Now, this is the exact same way it works for your collections. You can select up to 5 qualifications that they could each associate to. And then as your learners are completing, you'll see everything start to be recorded in our reports tab, which I will jump through to now. We've got a myriad of reports in the Intudo system, but the big one that we're going to be looking at today is our CPD cycle report, and then we'll jump into that CPD report soon as well. Here we can see that I've got 2 learners that are working towards different qualifications, and we can see that they've both got a little bit of progress. Obviously, the person in the full membership has a lot further to go to reach their 25 points than the associate membership that only needs to get 10. So all of this is really easy to view. If we were wanting to only view people in a specific qualification, we can filter by that. If we were wanting to only view people that were completed, we could filter by that as well. If we were then wanting to have a look at a specific learner, we can jump into their cycles and we can see that their full membership cycle is starting here. Clicking on that, we can then see what activities are actually associated with that cycle, when it was issued, and if we were wanting to go even further, we could then jump into that CPD report that we were looking at. Here is when we'll see all of the CPD that have been issued on our site. If we were wanting to look at it for a specific learner, we can simply search for their name, and then we can also search by type. And of course, we can look at our courses and the status and things as well. So we can see Brad Pitt is down here and that it was approved and that it was done today. If evidence has been uploaded, we can view that here. If it's a certificate that's been issued via Intudo, we can see that certificate as well. So everything's really easy to see, to view, and of course, like we mentioned, everything is exportable from that report directly into an Excel spreadsheet that you can then keep moving on. You can do extra reports, you can present it to your board, whatever it is that you need to do with that data. So now that we've kind of had a look at what it actually looks like in the system, we can jump back into our presentation and we can talk a little bit about next steps. If you're an existing Intudo customer, the thing we would love to do is simply have a chat to you about your existing setup. Potentially you're not using CPD at all in the system, in which case we can obviously turn that feature on for you. We can talk you through how to add those points, how to set up the cycles and qualifications if you're wanting to use those, as well as how to make sure that all of those points are getting tracked back to other systems. Simply contact us at support@intudo.com and we can organize a time, or if you've just got a couple of questions, we can answer them via email as well. If you are new to Intudo, we would love to give you a personalized demo of the platform so you can see exactly how it would work for your organization's specific context. The QR code on screen is to book a meeting. It's no obligation at all. And of course, you are more than welcome to simply email us at support@intudo.com as well to answer or to ask, I should say, any questions if you're wanting to jump in there too. Because there is a lot to this, you've probably got quite a few questions. I've managed to be a little bit earlier than I was expecting. So I would love for any questions to come through. I've got my colleague AJ on the call, so hopefully he can jump in and ask any questions that might have come through.
Yeah, thanks, Caitlin. Great to be here today. We just have one question at the moment that has come through from Mel, and that is that we need unique identifiers on CPD certificates issued. Is this possible?
Amazing. Yes, absolutely, it is. So all of our certificates in the system actually have a unique verification on it. I'll just click on this one and see if I can show you. Even though this one is expired, still a great example. So every single one of the certificates issued from Intudo has a verification of authenticity on it. It's a 12-digit or 12-character code that you can see here, and every certificate in Intudo is completely unique. You can go to intudo.com/verify and enter that code to actually check what the certificate was awarded for, who it was awarded to, the site that it was awarded by, and of course, you can contact us if you need more details, such as the specific time and date it was awarded, if it was the first time that achieved it versus if it was a renewal, and of course, any other information that we can provide, we would be happy to assist with as well. You can, of course, print and save these certificates as well, but everything else you can do from your admin side as well, Mel. I think if it's the Mel I'm thinking of, you're an Intudo customer, so if you do want me to jump in and we can talk about that on a call as well.
And I'll just add to that as well that if you are looking at these certificates from a member perspective, so you've logged in as a learner, you're inside Tutor, you go to your certificate, we now also have the option to push that certificate to LinkedIn. So if you're a member, you want to have that on your LinkedIn profile, you can actually push that to LinkedIn now, which is great for the members because for them and their profile, it shows they're progressing in their career and great for sort of advertising themselves. And it's also really good for the association's perspective because it sort of acts as a bit of a billboard for your association to people who are in that members network. So that's just something to put
Absolutely.
in.
On that note as well, if you are using a community program platform like Tradewing, you also have the option of obviously your members posting their achievements and things there. If you've got a bit of an internal social media or internal forum, that's a great place for you to encourage people to post their certificates and things as well, which can, show other members that there is some great courses and things to do, but it can also just encourage members to actually complete their courses if they've forgotten about them or they haven't quite finished something that already started.
And we've just got one follow-up question from Mel before we move on to another one. That is, thank you, Caitlin. Can we push the certificate to members as well?
Ooh, that's something we might have to check with members. I know our completions go through to the member records. I I'd have to check if the certificates actually appear in the members side as well, but that's definitely something I can check and get back to you. But the CPD points definitely flow through and apply to the member record in members. So you've at least got that if we don't have that certificate flowing through quite yet.
And it would always still, it could be set up so that it emails them directly from Intudo, even if it doesn't go through members.
Absolutely, yep. Learners can always access their own certificates directly from in the platform as well as the email if we've got that set up.
Okay, we've also got a question here from Christine, and that is, how do you attach a membership to a user?
Yes, so that actually comes from the enrollment into the courses or collections that we've set up for those qualifications. So in the case of the I'll jump back in here so I can show you. So in the case of this webinar course, anyone that gets enrolled into this will be popped into the details for that associate or full membership, whichever one you've got connected here. So at the moment, it's an automatic process. But if you'd prefer it to be gate kept a little bit, we can definitely talk about options for how we could do that. We've just got it set up that it flows directly based on what courses and collections they've been given access to in the system, just to keep it as easy as possible to begin with. But yeah, if you're wanting to keep it specific, we can definitely talk about options for how we can do that as well.
Okay, that's great. And we haven't got any other questions coming through per se. So if anyone does have something else they'd like to add, then please add it quickly. Christine's just saying we have two distinct groups where one group would get the CPD and others don't.
Ooh, okay. I've got a few thoughts of how we can make that happen in the platform. So we'd definitely love to jump on a call and understand those requirements a little bit closer, and then we can make sure that we've got everything set up the way it needs to be for you.
Okay, so here's actually another question. Final question that's come
Cool.
through. And that is, can CPD points be allocated retrospectively, as in allocated to previous collections completed? Could this be done by bulk upload, for example?
Ooh. The collection would have to have been completed within the system. So as long as they have or like the learner has already completed it, I think we would be able to apply it to their CPD record via that bulk upload feature. Um, if they haven't already completed it, we'd have to upload it as a manual record if they've done that learning externally, but it counts as the same as that collection in the system. So yeah, it'd just be a case of whether they've completed it or not. But either way, we'd be able to pop it in manually regardless to make sure that it is against their profiles. And yeah, if there's a lot of people that are in that boat, we can definitely help you out by doing it in the back end if needed.
Okay, thank you. And no other questions are coming through at this point.
Cool. For everyone that is here then, and if there's anyone that wants to send a final question through, that's fine. But we will be sending out a overview of the full CPD feature and obviously the recording of this and things afterwards as well. If you are wanting to take another look, or if you're wanting to potentially share it with somebody else in your team. And of course, feel free to contact us to organize a demo that we can specialize for your use case, especially if you are using specific AMS platforms, Members, or a Tradewing community platform or HubSpot CRM or whatever your tools are. All those setups can be slightly different for what we can, have set up. So shopping carts flowing in, flowing out to different places. We'd love to give you an overview of exactly how it could work for the other systems that you were using as well. So yeah, feel free to reach out. We can jump on a call, or yeah, send some emails back and forth and some resources.
Right.
Cool. Awesome. Well, yeah, thank you everybody so much for joining us today. I hope this was useful, and yeah, we'd love to keep the conversation flowing. So feel free to reach out if you've got any questions. Thanks, everybody.
Goodbye.